Here we go. Good morning, everybody. This is David Beavers, National Marketing Director with the Juice Plus Company, and I'm speaking today with Hans Finzel. He's the author of 10 books. He's a speaker, a teacher, a motivator, mentor, and friend to thousands of leaders around the world. In fact, he's done his thing on 5 different continents, and his books have been translated in over 20 different foreign languages. These leaders come from every walk of life: ministry, business, education. He serves on various boards of education, mission boards. He's been married to his beautiful wife, Donna, for 42 years, 4 great kids, 9 grandchildren. And Donna, just for the sake of this audience, you need to know, is a national marketing director with the Juice Plus Company, as I am. And that's kind of what pulled Hans and me together again some years ago. Hans, in addition to being a world well-known speaker, he's mostly my friend for 40 years, going back to graduate school. And I'm with him today to talk about his latest book, Top 10 Ways to Become a Great Leader. And I've read all of his books, and this one for me, I could not wait to get on the call with him. Hans, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, David.
Let me talk about you a little bit more before we get into the book.
Well, let's not waste too much time on me.
Yeah. What I want to do is just to let you know why this book is meaningful to me, that I'm not by myself in this. The foreword to this book was written by our own Catherine Lee, who is loved and appreciated and admired from shore to shore, if you will. And this is what Catherine Lee says about this new book by Hans Finzel. Hans Finzel has the broadest grasp of leadership of any person I have encountered. He relates leadership to the real world in such practical terms. I've had so much fun reading his newest book on leadership, because Hans is truly a brilliant communicator. And then I won't rub it in too much, but this is really good. Think about how much impact Catherine Lee has had on our culture in the Juice Plus community. And this is what she says about her relationship with Hans. As a life coach and business strategist, I'm consistently asked, who mentors me in leadership? Hands down, my answer is Hans Finzel. Wow.
Woo,
Hans.
that's crazy.
Isn't that something?
That's pretty.
I'm so proud to know you and be with you, and I know it's true. And gosh, let me just say to the readers, tell me, you're getting ready to take off on a trip today, another one of your whirlwind things. What are you up to today?
We're going to Chicago. Donna is launching a new team member, fast tracking her. So I'm a senior sales coordinator, by the way.
Oh, good deal. Now you really have credibility.
Yeah, and I'm getting close to Q, and I'm going to get to NMD on my own. So I'm building my own team, not riding totally on her skirt tails. But, so we're launching a new team member there. We have one of our kids and 4 grandkids there, so we'll be hanging out with them. Then I fly to Roanoke, Virginia I do a lot of speaking at pastors' conferences, so I'm doing that next Saturday, and then on to Columbia, South Carolina. I'm on the board of my college, Columbia International University. We're launching a brand new president there, so that's exciting.
You've been there for like 20 plus years, haven't you, on the board?
22 years on the board. Donna and I met there, and it's just a special little college there in South Carolina. The purpose of the school is to know him and to make him known. We just think that's so cool. So yeah, I love the school, and they seem to like having me on the board. So
they seem to. 22 years, I guess so.
And I was a CEO for 20 years, and I related to a wonderful board. And it's nice to be on the other side where I'm not the CEO, I'm the board. And so I know, my passion is to support the president. I'm also on the board of Pure Hope Foundation, speaking to Catherine Lee.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that, Donna.
I did know that. I forgot to mention
that. In fact, I'm the chair of that board, and I am just a champion and a cheerleader for her and our team there. I think that's what a board should do.
What a great blending of cultures.
Yeah.
Your background, my background, and here we are. And it really speaks volumes about our company.
Oh, listen.
Where people from, go ahead.
Oh, well, I brag about our company all the time, knowing a lot about leadership. We were just in Steamboat Springs over the weekend launching another new team member, and I was speaking there for a Juice Plus event, and I was telling them, look, I know a lot about leadership, and there's no group of leaders that I respect more than Jay Martin and his team
Yeah.
in Memphis. They are the real deal. I'm so proud of them. Can I just tell your listeners that you and I met in grad school 40 years ago. I don't know how you kept all your hair, and I lost all mine. We'll talk about that some other time. But you were my big brother.
Yeah.
And they had this. I was just a young Christian, and there at DTS, I just felt lost in Dallas at the seminary, and you were my big brother. They had a discipleship program, and you just loved me and care about me way back then, and made a deep impression on me.
Well.
And then we lost track for all those years, and then
Yeah.
Donna joins Juice Plus. Like we've been in the Juice Plus 16 years, and then all of a sudden, lo and behold, there's the Beavers.
There we were.
Yeah, there we were.
Well, we have had quite different journeys, but some common threads in terms of where our hearts want to hook up the most.
That's
I
right.
think what brings us back together today is that we never really lost those things that we had so tenderly together back in seminary. It's just a very special time.
And I appreciate seeing your passion for leadership. People always ask me, why do you care about leadership? And I said, because leaders make things happen, and there are terrible leaders and great leaders. And if you're a terrible leader and you don't have good leadership habits, you make life miserable for everybody down the food chain. And my passion is to help good leaders be great leaders so that everybody accomplishes more and has more fun, and it's more enjoyable experience. And I think you have that same vision. You understand, how much leaders influence everything.
That's the key word you used at the beginning of your book. And it's, by the way, the listeners, this is an unplanned, unrehearsed conversation between Hans and myself. Hans, you've taken the word leadership and you've taken each letter, 10 letters, and ascribed a word to those letters, and you kind of follow the book through. I'm not going to spend these 20 minutes with you going over each letter and each component of leadership, the 10 ways to become a great leader. But I want to start with the first one and the last one, the bookends, because I think they kind of they're sort of wrap up the whole book. They put a bow on the whole book. The first one is L, and it stands for listening and learning. And the last one is P, leadership, and it stands for the power of humility. And for me, I want you to just talk a few minutes about listening and learning, and then maybe somehow tie that into humility and so forth. What makes leaders bad leaders? Maybe that's the place to start, because I think I read your book and I said, amen, amen. When
I speak next Saturday down in Dublin, Virginia, I will ask the audience, how many of you have worked for a terrible boss? And guess what? Everybody raises their hands. And when I ask, if I drill down and ask people what made that boss so hard to work for or miserable, oftentimes they'll say they just don't listen.
Yeah.
They're arrogant, and they think they know it all, and they're proud. And see, that you're right. The first chapter and the last chapter really do wrap around together, because if you were to ask me what is the number one greatest characteristic of great leadership, I would say humility.
Mm-hmm.
I think humility is such a key component. Now, in the secular world, sometimes people think that's a sign of weakness, but it's not. And Jim Collins, who wrote the great book, Good to Great, proved in the secular world that the great companies are led by leaders who have a personal humility, which means I don't know it all, and you can't listen and learn if you're not humble. So that's why those three words are all wrapped together.
Spectacular. Let me just say, too, as we go forward here, for those of you who are listening, Juice Plus has made some great strides, even in the last less than a year, and drilling down on personal development and the leadership. Karen Jones has led this movement with the blessings of Paulo and Jay and others, and we're studying a lot now with Brene Brown's materials and so forth. So what this interview with Hans is really dovetailing with that. And I want to say that if you have not bought a book this year on leadership or personal development, I want you to get this one. And this is not a plug. I don't get any kickbacks on Hans's book, but this, there's a lot of stuff out there, and it's confusing. It's kind of like trying to understand nutrition. There's so many different theories of how to stay healthy, but I think I would encourage everyone and I'll give you the directions on how to do that at the end of the
leadership is a little like love also. How do you describe love? Or let's write another book on love. And people ask me, does the world really need another book on leadership? Because there's so many out there. And what makes this book unique, I think, is two things. I'm an older person now, and I've been in the world of leadership for 30 years. And I think there's a lot of wisdom. I think I have a lot of leadership wisdom. And it is chock full of wisdom. The other thing is it's very practical, because I was the leader of a big international nonprofit for 20 years. And so I have hired people, fired people, led meetings. I mean, I've done it for years. So it's not like a professor with a classroom theory on leadership. It's and our mentor, Howard Hendricks, always told us, put the cookies on the lower shelf. And that's what I've done with this book.
Well, and you're over yourself more than you were 25 years ago, so that you can speak on these things and you actually enjoy it, instead of, we take ourselves so seriously at the beginning, and boy, I'm delivering the truth today, so please pay attention. And there's a lightheartedness and a seriousness mixed in here. I want to read something. There's a couple of places I want to take you in your book, and this is towards the end. And a lot of people listening to this are aspiring leaders in the Juice Plus world. And here on page 201 in your book, it says, why should people follow us? And here are the reasons. They follow you because you're the boss. This gets better. Hang on. They follow you because they have to. They follow you because you pay them really well. Then it gets better. They follow you because they like where you are taking them. They follow you because they admire and trust you, and they follow you because you inspire them. And then you wrote this: in my early years of leadership, my team followed me because they had to. I was stuck at the top of this list, and I don't wish that for anyone. I was their appointed leader, and the first chance they got, they voted me off the island. In hindsight, it really was the best thing that ever happened to me as a young leader. So why do people follow you now, Hans? Why do people follow anybody?
Yeah, well, those reasons are what I've observed. And I was in a situation as a young leader where the way our organization worked is the leadership appointed regional leaders. That's back when we lived in Austria, and I was the appointed leader. So the people upstairs liked me, but the people on the ground did not. And I was just, David, I was full of myself. I thought I was God's gift to the world. I was, and the more gifted you are and the more you do things well, the more you can fall into this arrogance and run over people. And when I asked my team after they voted me off the island, they said, Hans, you're so good. You're so gifted. There's so many things you do well, but you don't care about us. You just don't care. And that just pierced my heart. And I realized that's the key to great leadership. The old saying, I don't know who first said it was John Maxwell, or people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care and how you make them feel. And you're right. In the Juice Plus business, I was just speaking up in Steamboat. We were doing a training. And I said, if you want to grow your Juice Plus business, you're going to become a leader, whether you like it or not. And people are going to start looking to you. And it might be the first time in your life since you were a mom just leading your family, your kids. Now all these other people are looking to you. And be careful that you don't run over people, that you really care about people. And that's, you're right, the whole Brene Brown growth of our company is so exciting to me, because I had to change as a person. And that's the journey that we're on, is the more we change and become healthier as a person, and love people and really care about the people we lead, they know, and then we will prosper as a leader.
This is your 10th book, and I think I read half of them, mostly ones on leadership. And I've watched you grow too. I mean, what are you, 65 now?
Yeah.
I'm 70. And the listen and learn and the power of humility is I see fleshed out in you. In fact, that's to me is the most motivating, encouraging thing about reading your book is to say, Hans is a growing person. And I think this is what would you say to those listening who are either 25 or 75 or somewhere in between? How do you stay hungry? How do you stay humble? How do you keep learning and listening? How does that willingness stay alive in you? What's it done for you?
Yeah, because I did reach a plateau in my career 5 years ago. And when I quit being the CEO when I was 60, and everybody thought I would stay till I retired, but I had lost my passion, and I stuck around in that job for all the wrong reasons. And I think a lot of people in the Juice Plus industry, Juice Plus is their plan B, but they're still stuck in this job.
Right.
And
Very
they're
common.
not fulfilled and satisfied. And I finally made the decision. I stuck it out for all the wrong reasons. And I finally quit 5 years ago. It was the best decision I ever made because I was plateaued. I had lost that passion. And a lot of people stay in jobs just because of the pay and for whatever reason. So
Yeah.
how do you stay hungry? I say follow your heart and listen to your heart.
Oh, that's great.
It's above all things, pay attention to your heart because everything in life flows out of it. And I was basically ignoring my heart because of external things that were keeping me in this job. The beauty about the Juice Plus business is it can become your plan A. And then, it's the most inspiring tribe. Donna and I found our tribe in the Juice Plus world.
Yeah.
Our people that we love to be with. They fuel us. I just brought a young guy to the last conference in Anaheim who's on my team. And he said, I can't believe there are 7,000 or 8,000 people that are so passionate about being healthy and growing as people. And it's such an inspirational group of people to be around. So I think if you don't have it, the more you get around inspirational people and people that are on a mission, the more you'll get on that same mission. I don't know.
We tend to sort of live out of a purpose. We tend to do things, not always perfectly, but we tend to do things on purpose. And a lot of times people are just sort of doing their thing and not really aware of an inner purpose. I want to get us back on your book here, and
Okay.
and actually we won't. This is where I wanted to go. Everything up to now has been kind of like setting you up. So forgive me.
Appetizer. All right.
Appetizers, exactly. We finished with the hors d'oeuvres. Here's the meat. Second chapter and third chapter. Second chapter is the E, which stands for emotional quotient. And talk about what that is. And in that description, you talked about the difference between soft skills and hard skills and the EQ of a leader. Talk about that.
Yeah, let me build an image of an iceberg. An iceberg above the waterline, I call IQ. Below the waterline is EQ. It's a lot bigger than IQ, but to the world, a lot of people are put forward and are considered successful if they're smart, if they have a great IQ. But we've learned that EQ is so much more important for success in life, in business, and in leadership than how smart you are. We know a lot of smart people that are total failures. So what is EQ? That's the soft side of leadership. That's the soft side of your people skill. It's your ability to get along with people, to resolve conflict in a healthy manner, to know how you're coming across to other people. And David, when I think about the people, I fired some really smart people that were top C-level people in my company. And every one of them I fired because they had terrible EQ. I remember one lady I had to let go. It was so hard because I believed in her so much. She was so gifted. The troops loved her. They didn't understand when I fired her, but people that worked around her in the office said, Hans, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells around her, and I never know when she's going to explode.
Yes. Wow.
And she would explode.
I know that person.
But you've met that person.
I know that person.
And it would be painful and embarrassing when she would explode over people in her anger. So that's a sign of poor emotional intelligence. Now, I didn't give up on her right away. We put her in a counseling, a program, tried to help her, but it didn't. I don't know. She had some blind spots. I know what it was. It was her family, a story of origin. And sometimes people can't get over that. So EQ is how you get along with other people. It's blind spots too. We all have blind spots. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I talk in that chapter about a woman who talks too much, and she doesn't realize that she's always vomiting over people by talking, and never listening. That's a blind spot.
Yeah.
And the best thing she could do would be.
It never happens in Juice Plus. You know that. There's nobody who does that in Juice Plus.
No. So emotional intelligence, I just love it. And when I hire people, I don't hire people anymore because I'm on my own and I don't want people. But we recruit people for our Juice Plus team. And we always say hire for attitude, train for skill.
Yes.
Hire for attitude.
Say that again.
Hire for attitude, train for skill.
How does that translate into recruiting?
Well, I want to recruit people who are healthy, who are going somewhere, and who have a very positive attitude, as opposed to somebody who's always whining about their problems. Or we have a brand new team member we're getting on board, but this person's basically in poverty and desperate for money, a lot of failure. And I always look at people like that and say, I don't know. I don't know if usually those kind of people don't work out real well because they have a bad attitude and they whine and complain and everything is everybody else's fault. So to me, a positive attitude is so important when you're recruiting. And so we're selective in the people we recruit for our Juice Plus business and pour ourselves into. Yeah. Because the attitude, the emotional intelligence is everything.
Well, you really laid that out. In fact, I've had one little thing here, and let me see if I can find it. I think we just covered that. You said one place here, I confess that during my years as a CEO, you just mentioned this, I was not in touch with my EQ. And that led me into some rough waters. And that's what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Later in my career, when I quit 5 years ago, I realized, who is Hans? My self-identity was all wrapped up in my position as CEO.
Okay.
I am the president of this big $35 million international nonprofit. That was my identity.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have my heart in it anymore, but I was wrapped up in my position. And one of my senior guys came to me one day and he said, Hans, we need a leader who's all in or all gone.
All in or all gone?
All in. Can you believe he had the guts to say that to the CEO?
Yeah.
But you know what? He was absolutely right. My team began to realize my heart really wasn't in it anymore, and I was sticking around for all the perks and the prestige and the position. And when I left, I've been on a journey of recovery and joy because I'm not wrapped up in them. And men really have a problem with this more than women. They get wrapped up in their position, their title. Because what's the first question a man asks another man?
Wait, what do you do?
What do you do? Women don't ask that question. But men are, and we judge each other by our position and our job and our profession. And I had to get over that, and I am over that now. Now I'm just I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a roving ambassador of leadership wisdom, but I don't have a position, and I don't care about that anymore.
I've struggled with that too, and I think Sally and I sit on the back porch and have conversation in the morning. We have our coffee every morning. It's just a great gift to us. And I realize that I have a vehicle, Juice Plus. It pays the bills. It keeps me connected to people. It allows me to exercise my gifts. But when it comes right down to it, I'm a 70-year-old man who listens to people. And that's about it. That's the essence of what I do, and it's what you do too as an ambassador.
Yeah, and you should be very comfortable in your skin about that because you're so admired and respected throughout our company, and it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It's fine.
It takes a while to get there, though. I'm going to
It
do
does.
one more thing in our last 3 or 4 minutes here. The next one, this is the chapter on accessibility, which was code word for vulnerability. I like that. That was very good. You used the A well, but it really meant vulnerability. And here's what you say on page 79. Vulnerability makes us more human. Then the next page you say, I've always struggled with vulnerability. Talk about that and we'll wrap it up.
Okay, well, and I'm doing a lot of millennials are coming into our company, and I'm actually, my next book I'm writing with a millennial is 32 years old, and it's about boomers and millennials working together well in the workplace. And I've learned that millennials won't stand for following leaders that are isolated and insulated and that hide out in their corner office. They have to be shoulder to shoulder, side by side. The old paradigm was the executive suite, the top floor of the building, and the leaders would never mingle with the followers.
That's the accessibility piece.
Yeah, that's accessibility. Now, the vulnerability piece is admitting your mistakes now and admitting your struggles. Well, I'm pure German. We Germans don't like to open our hearts.
Right.
I'm an adult child of an alcoholic, and so that syndrome makes you not trust people and not be vulnerable because there's so much pain associated with, your childhood and the drama in your home. So you tend to not trust people. You tend to be a closed person, and so I struggle and I'm a type A personality.
Right.
To me, I'm task oriented. To me,
Right.
success is about accomplishing tasks. And so that's all the reasons why I struggle with opening my heart to my team. And when I remember the day in our boardroom and we were having a team meeting, and I started going to a counselor, and he's the one who told me, hey, you're an adult child of an alcoholic, and you really have a hard time opening your heart to people. And I told my team this.
Yeah, I read that in the book.
And they sat there and they were stunned, and they were like, oh, all the dots got connected, and they said, we just thought you were arrogant.
Yeah.
And no, I'm not arrogant, but sometimes people think I'm aloof or arrogant because it's very hard for me to open my heart.
You've always been extroverted and friendly and outgoing and a leader, but the vulnerability piece is what makes you human.
Yeah, our old professor, Howard Hendricks, was a master on the stage.
Right.
Okay. But the guy just was the most closed person. If you tried to stand and talk to him, it was so awkward,
Totally.
And so it's, I'm super personable. People don't believe I'm an introvert, but I do struggle with vulnerability, but the power of vulnerability. So let me leave you with this story if we're out of time.
Good.
I have a friend who's a CEO of a big ministry, and he said, I'm really vulnerable. And the other day, one of my top leaders said, Joe, I can't believe you're so vulnerable and you tell us all your warts and blemishes and struggles. Don't you think your team won't respect you as a leader? And he said, what about you? Do you respect me? And she said, oh, you're the best leader I've ever worked for.
Oh, man.
Because you're vulnerable. And he said, well, there you go. You see, we think if we admit our flaws, people won't respect us, but it's the opposite.
Thanks. Oh, my gosh. This is why I said when I got on the call with you this morning, I need a day. I need an evening. I need maybe a bottle of wine for you and I just to sit around.
Yeah, that would be great.
Because I know I sense even the last 5 years of your journey. I told you when I invited you to do this interview that of all the books that I've read of yours, this is the one I can see you. Oh, I see Hans in this book. And for that reason, I'm asking those of you who are on my team or any part of the Juice Plus community, if you haven't picked up a book or a tape or something on leadership and personal development, I want you to get this book right away and edit. And the great thing about it too is at the end of each chapter, there are action steps and practical things. You could literally take your team of 6, 8, 10, or 30 people and work through these issues of leadership and listening and learning and humility and vulnerability, and work through those issues with your team and watch people just kind of grow up right in front of your eyes.
Hey, by the way, I just launched it as an audiobook read by myself. So it's also, those of you who are audiobook junkies, you can listen to it in 5 hours. So it's also available now in audiobook.
Hans, I'm going to post this in my leadership newsletter, but for those of who are just listening, what is the website to go to get the book and or the audiobook? Can you tell me that?
Yeah, Amazon. You ever heard of Amazon?
Let's see. They're a new company, right?
Yeah, it's a new company.
10 Ways to Become a Great Leader by Hans Finzel. You're my man.
Thank you, David. They can go to Amazon, just type in Hans Finzel, and they'll find all my books. It's the red and black book, and it's been great talking to you, David. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Take care. Give Donna our love. Bye-bye.